give money. My whole point also of doing this was so that I could be philanthropic. I don't want to
Big
hesitate.
deal.
It's a big deal, dude. I don't want to hesitate when somebody's doing a fundraiser, or especially now at this time, there's been every single week
Hmm.
donation. Very pointed, very focused. Welcome, welcome. This is our last June 2020 live call. I initially started these calls when Mr. Floyd was murdered and the world began to wake up to systemic racism. And I felt as though, being a predominantly white team of almost 45,000 households, that I had a responsibility not to teach what I don't know, but to share the process of learning what I'm coming to know with you. That has turned out to be an incredible source of inspiration, um, clarity, maybe even pride for me. And I know for many of you, I've heard from so many of you who have been thanking me for just coming to this format and sharing what I'm learning. So I'm so happy to have you here. But this last week, this last one, this is a special one. A very long time ago, a girl came into my class at Vera Yoga in Soho in New York. The biggest smile, the most beautiful face, the most heartfelt level of engagement with me and what I was teaching, a level of attention that I hadn't seen much, and so much care. We've stayed in touch. She has now become a phenomenon. She created of herself and her own business a tremendously successful six-figure, not just coaching, but all encompassing, shifting your mindset to create the business of your dreams. And it doesn't matter what your business is. This girl, Jessie Johnson, she's here with us today. She and I have had some of the greatest conversations I've had this year. She is married to a powerhouse man of color who I love so much. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. And he's also a total genius in his own right, a real intuitive, a business person, but the heart, the heart of this man is what I focus on. But Jessie's here to talk to us, of her own volition, voluntarily. I want to thank you for being here, first of all, Jessie.
My honor.
It's a big deal. And we have kind of this rough outline that I kind of want to respect, but I think I would just like for you to start by telling your story so that everybody gets a little bit of context on who you are. And then they can kind of jump in to your heart a little bit as you teach.
Hmm. It's so nice to be with you all. I knew it was going to be nice, but like actually seeing your faces, I'm like, oh, there's so much sweetness here. Feel it. Um, so just like I just want to give like a slice from childhood and a slice from college, and then I'll kind of give the more professional thing. But the childhood slice is that I grew up in Hendersonville, North Carolina. I noticed one of you is from Asheville. Um, Small southern town at the time that I was growing up, was kind of a retirement community, pretty slow. And we studied, as everyone did, the civil rights movement. At least if you grew up in America, you studied the civil rights movement. And my takeaway was that we had abolished racism and done the thing, and we're on with our lives. One of my dad's closest friends was a black man. I was like, yep, 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 yep. Who's my black leadership? Martin Luther King. I'll take him. Yep. And literally went on with the rest of my life, which I now know was almost entirely segregated. There were only white kids in my classes, although there were black kids in my school. There were only white kids in my neighborhood, and like only the black kids were in one part of town. Like it was such a dramatically racist setup, and I had no idea. So then I went to Hampshire College, which is in Massachusetts in New England, and they just like, you know, wake up, child. Still very, very white privileged community, but very different conversation. And I left college with a tremendous amount of, I would say, education in injustice and awareness of my white privilege. But the only strategy that I'd come up with at that point to deal with that was guilt. That was like, okay, I'll feel guilty. So, and definitely not make more money. Like, I have enough privilege and that guilt shit is heavy. So I'm gonna just not add on to it by freaking making money. So I was an artist and I started that way. I wasn't making any money that way. So I gradually chose a career in math education, and that took my heart. So I was a New York City public school math teacher for 7 years, and then I transitioned into coaching other math teachers and principals, working for the School of New York City Public Schools for 12 years. And in that work, I felt like I was giving back. I kind of felt like I could not necessarily give up the guilt, but I could like put it on a shelf, and like it would be, I wouldn't be, you know, murdering anyone if I like left that guilt there. And in my school, at least, we talked a lot about the challenges of a bunch of white teachers educating a bunch of students of color. Because once again, there was one white kid in my entire school that I taught at. But we knew it was going on. We knew it was a problem. We tried to work on it. After 12 years of working in schools, the system wasn't changing. I had good relationships. I was a wonderful teacher. I was a wonderful math coach. I loved my faculty and when I was coaching teachers, I loved the teachers that I taught. There were many, 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 many beautiful things about the work that I was doing, but it was not fundamentally changing how the system works. Poor kids grew into poor adults. Wealthy, privileged kids grew into wealthy, privileged adults. I came to realize that my like lack of wealth or wealth was not the issue. The fact that I could choose was the issue. So that sent me, I mean, I'm like spinning this into a nice concise thing, but basically the long story short is that I decided that I wanted to change my career. I wanted to have more integration of my spiritual life and my professional life. I wanted to experience more freedom. My husband, Shrikala, was touring a lot at the time. I wanted to be able to travel with him. I wanted to make more money, not less. And I just kind of had the sense of like, enough about this isn't working that I can give it up. Like there's enough, I kind of am frustrated enough, or I'm mad enough, or I'm hitting my head against the ceiling enough to be willing to let this thing go. I had no idea what else I would do. It was a radical, radical thing to start a business. I explored options for over a year. I didn't even consider starting my own business. It was just like blind spot. And when that blind spot was opened, I hired my first coach. She helped me create the business, understand what I wanted to do, which was really incorporate the work that I'd been doing with public school educators with the work that I'd been doing in my spiritual life. Because actually at the same time that I started teaching, I started meditating like very seriously and teaching meditation and getting very serious about my spiritual practice. So I was like, yeah, let me work with spiritual educators. Let me work with retreat leaders. Let me work with healers. Let me work with spiritual teachers. Let me help them with their curriculum. That's what I thought I was going to do. Within literally 2 weeks, I was like, oh, they don't have anyone in their rooms. Like, or they do, but they're not sustainable. Like they need to figure out how to make money. So, like so many of the important things in my life, I really feel like I was like, it picked me. Money picked me. It would never have occurred to me to create a 7-figure coaching consulting business around coaching spiritual teachers around money, but that's what I did. And I went from literally knowing nothing about business. I hadn't even sold Girl Scout cookies or essential oils. And 2 years later, I had a 7-figure business, which is something that most people have not done or thought to do. I certainly had not thought to do that. Frankly, while it was happening, I didn't even really fully understand what I was doing. I do now. But it was like, oh, if I can do this, anyone can do anything. If I can make this dramatic of a change, like shit is possible that we don't even know. And I came from like a very visionary, very spiritual community. Listen to Abraham Hicks all the time. I mean, I was in the know, but now I was seeing things happen in my bank account, in my clients' bank accounts in real time. That was just, okay, wait, something else is going on. So I'm on a mission as this race conversation is continuing to happen and in new ways to really claim my purpose as a catalyst for financial liberation. Really a catalyst for liberation, period. But using money to do that. Because if we dig underneath the race issue, there's always money. So the system challenges that we experience are the systems developed around money. And when we don't understand them, we can't engage and be powerful inside them. And we end up feeling like victims in our lives, consciously or unconsciously. So that's my mission. I'm a liberation teacher. And I'm here to share anything I can with you guys today about money, about the integration of your life and like business and anything that's coming up for you around these race things, anything I can do.
So you had that list of 6 points, which I think could be very relevant. I think for me, just watching you go after the clients, the business, the information that you needed in order to serve those people, that's been the most inspiring thing for me. To watch you put yourself out there on YouTube, interview people, reach out to people, and start to show the world that this is what you're up to, this is what you're after, has been a ridiculous source for me. And I think it's what I hope to do for the team, first of all, is to be that source. But I think to hear those points from you could be very helpful. And I think each point will have some different impact for different people.
Mm-hmm. So there were, I actually shared this moment in the story where I was like, I don't know, I mean, I kind of knew what I had done to get to the 7-figure mark, but at the same time, it was like, I was mostly just doing what my coaches and mentors were telling me to do. And when it happened, it was like, okay, next, like, it wasn't like I didn't really get it. And then as time went on afterwards, I was like, wait, what happened? What did I do? And there were 6 things that I realized, 5 at first. And then I realized there was one that came before. So the first one, and I see that question, Drea, I hope I'm saying your name right. We'll come back to that. So the first one was knowing that I had a gift, knowing that I had a purpose, knowing that there was something that wanted to come through me. That was very important. And I think that I think everyone has that. I don't think there's any human being that doesn't. I know that I am very connected to that. Like when I'm not expressing what I feel is my actual potential, I feel angry. I am not comfortable with that. Some other people are more comfortable. So that's definitely like an important piece. It's not a trivial thing to come into this knowing. And it is what sources confidence. It is what sources the willingness to be seen. So it is necessary, but confidence isn't the thing that's necessary. It's the knowing underneath the confidence. So that's 1, know your gift. 2 was wanting more, right? And I shared that moment of just like hitting my head against the ceiling. Contrast typically is what catalyzes the desire for more. So just to connect the dots, it's like we all know that the world is capable of more than what it's doing all the time. And anytime we see injustice, the thing that we feel when we're like, ugh, is because we know more is possible. That's step 1. Knowing more is here. in us, in our world. Step 2 is actually choosing to want that more, to prioritize that more, to let your own desire be a living, breathing, talking entity in your life. Wanting more money, wanting more freedom, wanting more equity, wanting more ease, wanting more integration, whatever it is that matters to you, your desire matters. What you want is wanted. So that's step 2. You got to let yourself want what you want and like really claim it. Like, yeah, I want this. This is for me. Step 3 for me was hiring a mentor. And I think that's really important. You guys already have Elena as a mentor. If you're doing the work around money and you're not paying for it, you will benefit from paying someone to teach you about money because it's a financial thing that you're studying. I didn't know that I wanted a business when I hired my mentor. I had no idea how I was going to pay for it. When I hired a mentor, I had no idea, like I didn't have the clear vision of the business and all that stuff when I hired the mentor. That was at zero. It was a very faith-based decision. And because of that, I built an incredibly solid foundation because every decision that I made in my business, I made with the guidance of someone who had done this already. I think about hiring a mentor a little bit like skydiving and going tandem. Like it's scary enough to do that. Take someone with you who knows what they're doing, you know? So I've been very blessed to work with incredible mentors throughout this process. I attribute so much of my ease and success and speed to their support. So that's step 3, hire a mentor. Step 4 was making a decision to change. I was recently, my team and I work together on social media, and we recently posted a thing about this tattoo that I got about a year ago in New York City, which was really fun. And as I was looking at it, I was like, oh yeah, that was a moment for me of making a decision. Like I'd been thinking about getting a tattoo for 20 years. I'd been dreaming about it. I knew I wanted a whale, which is what I got. I wanted circles of color, whatever. I had all these visions. 20 years, I'll do that maybe one day. And last year on my birthday, around that time, I was just like, you know, I need to either do it or decide I'm not going to do it. There's something not excellent about me tolerating this level of indecision. And once I did it, then I found my artist and I booked the session and I paid a deposit and I flew to New York and I got the tattoo. So the decision is a conscious one. There's all kinds of, we're making decisions constantly, every moment, all the time, but consciously making a decision to change is actually quite rare. Going back to the skydiving metaphor, that's the decision to actually jump out of the airplane. You can pay, you can get the training, you can sign all the paperwork, you can get strapped in, fly all the way up to the top of the whatever, the highest height, and not jump. That is an option. And you can do all that work. And it really, the truth is, it doesn't really prepare you for the decision to actually get out of the plane. When you're up, anybody's actually done this, gone skydiving? I mean, it's like, you know, they like dangle your feet out and you sit on the floor of the plane and dangle your feet out and look at that fucking ground, 10,000 feet, 15, whatever, below you. And while your eyes are open, you have to choose to jump. When everything in your mind, everything in your, literally your reptilian brain is telling you, absolutely don't. You'll want to vomit. You want, like, that's the kind of decision that I'm talking about. The decision to go big, the decision to put yourself out there, the decision to make a 7-figure business or whatever. They should feel terrifying, these decisions. That's the right feeling to be having when you're changing. So that's step 4. Step 5 is business planning, strategy, because you can use these 6 steps in really any context. You could use it to manifest a relationship. You could use it to manifest a home. when you're working with business and money. Of course, you're doing business strategy. And I really like to think about, we could geek out on this some other time, but in the way that I think about step 5, it's all about relationship archetypes. It's not just your ideal client. It's not just the ideal lifestyle that you want to live. It's how these two connect. And I mean, I think Elena is, I'm just thinking of her as a beautiful example. You're watching her craft her life, move to a new place, find the perfect place for her. And as she's doing that, her service with you guys is just riper, fresher, realer, right? As she develops in her service, I mean, in her quality of life, her service also develops. So these things are meant, I picture it kind of like a bridge, right? Your business is meant to do a lot for you and other people. And there is not ever meant to be a compromise, or like, you shouldn't have to choose between yourself and them. So that's step 5. And then step 6, if you're building a business, is sales mastery. And the only thing that I'll say about sales mastery in this moment is that I've never been more uncomfortable, and I've never learned more about myself. Sales mastery, sales as a spiritual practice, is one of the most rich and illuminating that I've ever had. And I assume that you guys know that, because you can't be in this group and not be talking about sales on the regular. It is the place where you get to be rejected and still be kind and loving. It is the place where you get to receive the yes, the money, and challenge yourself to increase your own capacity to welcome in and keep going. So sales, in my experience, like, I had been meditating at that point, I mean, in many ways my whole life, but like very seriously for 15 years when I started doing sales. And I thought I was pretty conscious, and sales highlighted this blind spot, like, again, another like slice of my awareness that was just completely in the dark. I was codependent. I was manipulative. I wanted people to like me, like my life depended on it. And I had no idea. I was walking around not knowing that, doing all that craziness to other people, which this is the culture that we live in. We're all taught to do this. And sales was what woke me up. Still, sales is what wakes me up. So that's a huge part of what I teach and what I practice. So 6 steps. Know your gift. Want more. Hire a mentor. Make the decision to change. Do your strategy work. Like, come up with the plan. And master sales. Repeat.
Let's talk about mastering sales for a second, because I think, one of the best strategies is something that I've spoken about recently at length, which is customer service. And knowing that I am right now actually providing you with exceptional customer service right here as we speak, knowing that that is actually an honor and not some sort of denigrating, low position is a big part of my strategy. So you can sort of demystify strategy. The summer mentorship is definitely going to be a lot about that, the mastermind, where we'll talk a great deal about knowing your numbers, just working with the facts rather than emotions. Like, these are the facts. On that leg, with that person, my attention is needed right now. Those are the facts. So then I go to the second part, customer service. That's kind of all I do. Once I get over the fact that that's my position, I am so excited to serve you guys. I get very fulfilled. I had a call before this. It's early here. Knowing that that is kind of the main aspect of strategy, is knowing your numbers and customer service. What do you feel, Jessie, are the main aspects of sales that somebody who still is like, I don't fucking want to sell anything, like I was, if they're still there, how do we talk about this with them, and what are your best points for that?
You know, as I hear you talk about it, what comes up for me first is the mindset piece. There's so many energetics, and we could talk about sales for days. But the first part is the kind of mindset hack that Elena you just modeled. It's like if you have a business, you're really your only job that will always be your only job, no matter how your role changes, no matter how the business expands, is sales. If
Yeah.
the business isn't making sales, there is no business. Period. It's super simple. As a school teacher, I could ignore sales. The truth is, sales were still happening, grants were being written and funded or not, or whatever. But I didn't have to look at it. I didn't have to touch it. I could just kind of, you know, like, I don't know whose taxpayers' money is paying me. I don't have to think about it. But when you're running a business, you can't not think about it. You don't have that privilege. So it's like doing the work to like just get into the car, into the boat with sales and buddy up with it. Like, all right, we're in this to win this. Like, how do we want to make this work? What's our relationship going to be? Falling in love with sales. That's my recommendation.
That right there, you guys, I feel is a really good jumping off point. Think about what it would take for you to fall in love with the fact that you are selling a product that you use all the time that has probably impacted your life in an incredibly positive way, that causes you to create rituals where there were none, that causes you to be closer to yourself when you really struggled to do this, to just be closer to yourself. Think about what you would feel like if you had to sell like patio furniture. That would suck. So that said, we've gotten over the fact that these are products that we love. The word selling is, I think, where we have to jump in. And as Jesse was talking, I was thinking, you know, let's just take this word apart. I am selling my lifestyle. I am sharing and selling knowledge of plant medicine. I am sharing and selling knowledge of plant medicine. I am positively impacting the lives of, no telling, 100,000 children right now. No telling how many more. Me. Because I am willing to sell. Are you getting what I'm tossing? Okay. As I look at Kate Waitskin, who has contributed so much to this team, whose Vimeo on her immune boosting products that we cannot share on public social media, but I will be sharing in the Facebook group today, along with a beautiful picture that she took. It is the most useful video for anyone with children. Why on earth? I just had to fill out a form. Why on earth would we give children ibuprofen and acetaminophen when we have plant medicine? That's going to take 4 more generations to fix that in the schools. But we're starting. That's what we're doing. We're starting it. All because we are willing. Kate and I are willing to, what's the magic word? Sell. Sell. Selling is not a dirty word, because I sell. There are hundreds of children, thousands of children who are no longer taking those disgusting, harmful medications, starting a life with a deficient gut microbiome, because I am willing to sell. Okay? Take a couple of notes right now about what you want to have as an impact, as a result of your willingness to sell. What is one of the impacts? Would you like more kids to be off of ibuprofen and acetaminophen? Would you like more moms to feel more empowered about their health care, especially now that nobody can go to a fucking doctor? I haven't been to a doctor in 4 months. I would have gone to the dentist, the gynecologist, the breast doctor. I don't even know. 3 more doctors. I haven't been to any of them. Who cares? Guess what? I lived. I no longer live in New York. I have to find new doctors. I'm only using the oils. I have never felt better. What are the results that you want as a result of your willingness to sell your understanding of plant medicine? Those are good notes to keep close. And when you doubt yourself and when you find some asshole calling you out for some jealousy of their own, some self misunderstanding of their own, you look back at this list and don't be done now. Like, keep working on it. What are the results you want from your willingness to sell? I can't think of anything higher. What's higher than that? Teaching. It's what you're doing. What's higher than that? Medical care. It's kind of what you're doing. Preventive medical care. I'm not saying you're a doctor. I'm not saying I am. Believe me. I have all the respect for Western medicine. You all know that. You know, really consider that selling is not only not a dirty word, it's something that you can do to better the earth and our relation to it. And if you're still not sure about sourcing, just email me and I'll send you the whole list of sourcing videos. It's the main reason why I said, you know what, yoga? I'm going to doTERRA and I'm going to give it my full attention. I want to live my life the way that I want to live it. And I know that I can do that with doTERRA. I can't do it with yoga.
I'm so glad you said that. I feel like that's really important because the sales is service is half of that archetype that I keep doing. This is my visual for the archetype. That's the them part, right? Like when you focus on them, you know you're showing up in service, and part of how you serve is selling.
Yeah.
On the other side, it's equally important to claim that you're selling because you want to fucking make money.
Yes.
Because what happens when you make money? You spend money. What else happens? You feel differently about yourself.
I give money. My whole point also of doing this was so that I could be philanthropic. I don't want to
Big
hesitate.
deal.
It's a big deal, dude. I don't want to hesitate when somebody's doing a fundraiser, or especially now at this time, there's been every single week donation. Very pointed, very focused. The SPLC, they need our money right now.
There's a fundamental, like, I think, glitch in spiritual society, in do-gooder sort of culture, which is, well, everyone comes here to contribute. Every single human being comes to contribute.
Yeah.
That's one of the big, like, underlying pieces of the systemic racism conversation. Also, it's not just everyone has a right to live, duh. Everyone has a right to breathe. Everyone has a right to feel safe. It's also everyone has a right to feel worthy of contributing.
Right.
So when our contribution comes at the expense of our own livelihood, when in order to feel like we can teach or serve or do good in the world, we have to, on the back end, sacrifice ourselves, that shit is codependent. That is not healthy relationship. Then we end up then we need all this affirmation. It's a huge ego trip. And when you just charge for what you're doing, then you don't have to do that. The ego can just like go entertain itself with other activities.
Dude, the codependency part is a very big deal. Did we share yet the April Dawn Harder, the social worker that I just interviewed her and I've been studying her course. Racism Recovery Center. It's a bit of a tangent, but not. The codependency and the trauma from our childhoods that lead us to make choices based on what is basically an old wound, where wound meets wound and nothing actually gets accomplished. This is happening all over the anti-racism space right now. And this gal proposes that it's actually racism recovery, not anti-racism.
Mm.
That we as a nation have to actually come together and recover from this gross misunderstanding. And so much of it is based on I'm codependently following this person or that person, thinking that that's going to heal me. I'm codependently giving that person money or not, thinking that's going to heal me. I'm codependently relying on this person's education who's also still in trauma. That's going to heal me. None of it will. It's such I mean, and then your point, a spiritual teacher, codependent, unable to actually earn money. Raise your hand if you've had anything to do with that or you've seen someone in that position. So, yeah, pretty much everybody raised their hand for the folks who are watching later and not having the gallery. Okay. I would like to open the floor to questions for Jessie. I think this is an important time. I don't want you to hold yourself back. The bravery that we need to practice now, it's never been more important. If you want to be a part of the solution, money is needed. Mr. Biden needs money. I know he's not the best choice. I know that. I'm fully aware of that. But if we keep Trump in office and I keep having to look at Twitter and see these white elders in golf carts holding signs to make America great again, I'm going to die. And I'm not even happy with the ones who are holding up that Trump is a bigot and a racist and screaming "fuck Trump." Like, that's not it either. Can we please make as much money as possible so we can change this? Okay. Questions. I want you guys to unmute yourself. Ask Jessie anything. Ask me anything. Let's talk.
I'll ask a question. I have a question, guys. Thank you so much, Jessie, for everything you've shared. I love what you said about getting into the boat with sales. That was a really helpful visual for me. And also, I made a note in all caps and underlined it 3 times when you said sales is service. It makes so much sense, and yet just hearing it so simply put in with those 3 words was really helpful. So I wondered if you would just share a little bit more about when you say getting into the boat with sales, kind of how you did that yourself. I know you've shared a lot about your own experience, but if you could give us some maybe some tools around that.
Again, in the beginning for me, it was I just had to, and I was like I was setting financial goals and trying to meet them, and I knew I had to do this thing. No one else was going to do it for me. But also pretty early on, I started working with an amazing coach, David Nagel, and he has a sales team. And so he like does his amazing thing from the stage, and people definitely like he's selling. But what I was watching was that he wasn't doing the work of selling. And so very early on, I also got it into my mind that eventually I would just hire a team and they would sell for me. And my mentors just kept debunking that. Like, here's another little mic drop for you. Financial freedom is not a number in the bank. You will never have so much stored away that you won't have to think about money again, that your business won't have to make money again. Businesses have to make money all the time. That's what businesses do, just like we have to eat all the time. We'll never reach a point where we're so spiritually liberated that we never have to eat again or breathe again or drink again or pee again or shit again. Those are just part of the human experience. We got to keep doing that. So the same thing, money is energy, just like all these other sources of nourishment. We got to keep it moving. Financial freedom when it comes to your business is the confidence in your own skill set to make money whenever you want or need it. So we just hired a salesperson. We'll see how that works out. My experience is that finding salespeople is very challenging, but the call is out. If anybody knows anybody who's great at sales, we're hiring. So at some point we'll have a sales team and I won't be doing all the sales. But let me tell you what, if they don't do the job, I will. I will never be reliant on my team to do the work for me that I know is mine to do. So that shifted things for me in my business. When I stopped, so in other words, like I think I had probably hit 7 figures before I had truly gotten in the boat with sales, truly, like married sales. We were good friends. I was like, yeah, but I'm going to pass you off as soon as I can, get you out of my boat. And then something shifted and it was like, okay, you know what? This is always going to be mine. This is always going to be mine. This is my treasure. And when that shift happened, immediately all my resistance to sales left. I love sales. I love having sales conversations. There's nothing more pleasurable. It's non-different from any other spiritual work that I might do, any other healing work that I might do, because what I'm doing in a sales conversation is serving the person in front of me. It's very simple. How was that, Kate?
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for the question.
Thank you. Yeah.
The fact, to think that I feel the same way now, that there's nothing more pleasurable. I think it did take me to have some results to feel this way. So I want you to keep in mind that, please kindly, for your own body and nervous system, stick with this. I'm so glad that I stuck with this, because for me to agree with Jessie that sales is pleasurable, because I know what I'm selling. I know that I'm selling the best that we can ever get for our health, for preventive health care. That to me is a miracle. I never thought sales was pleasurable because I wasn't selling the right thing. So it could be that if it's still not pleasurable for you and you're making money doing it, maybe it's not the right thing for you to be selling. But I dare say that if you're making money and you love the oils as much as I think you do, you will find sales pleasurable. It may just take some time.
I feel like I just want to share this little tool because this helped me a lot. And it helped me a lot in the beginning. It helps me a lot still. So I liked it so much that I made these little branded flashlights. So this is actually so amazing because Elena wrote this book called The Art of Attention. So this is the model that I have in my mind for attention. This is my attention. Okay. When I'm in a sales conversation or any interaction really in the world, it's very tempting to get activated, triggered, and turn this flashlight on myself. Oh my God, do they like me? Am I saying the right thing? Am I talking too much? Should they be asking more questions? Does the fact that they're not asking questions mean that I'm not good enough? oh, maybe I wasn't very interested. Like that whole thing blinds me to doing anything to do with anyone else. I mean, I can't help anyone when this flashlight is turned inward. Sales is like the most empowering practice for getting your flashlight awareness up. Like, first of all, just recognizing where your awareness is. Who are you putting your attention on? This is not service. This is a self-obsession. It's very human, nothing wrong with it, but this is not what you're here to do. You're here to do this, which, by the way, doesn't mean that you don't self-care. Self-care is when the flashlight is out and you're looking at the parts of yourself. This is your body, or this is your mental state, or this is your heart. You can look at other aspects of yourself, but with that witness. This is a model for the witness. In sales conversations, you're gonna get triggered. You're gonna get frightened. You're gonna get self-doubting. You're gonna get insecure, whatever. Something will happen. Oh my God, they're doing that. Who am I to sell? They can't, they're Black. Am I supposed to sell them right now? I don't know. I'm a white person. Whatever noise comes in there. That's just this. You recognize it. Oh, I'm blinded right now. Let me turn my flashlight back. Pretty much everything that happens when the flashlight is focused on yourself is also pointing to some codependency.
Totally.
So you can like also make notes of the things that come up. You don't want to process them while you're in the sales conversation, but afterwards you can look at what you've written down. It's like, okay, this is my work. This is my curriculum.
I have a real clear picture now. I'm starting EMDR with a therapist, and I have such a clear picture of the things that I do around my house that aren't satisfactory to me anymore. The ways that I don't know, I get mean or disdainful or disapproving, oh my God, of the boys in my house. And I'm making a list of all those things. Those are my things. What are your things that in the moment that you're doing them, you are completely keenly aware that this is not a functional response? Like, part of the work of becoming an incredible salesperson and sustaining an incredible level of income and flow and momentum is constantly working on myself. And now, like, wow, now I'm getting into the fine little tooth comb of the daily, most quotidian reactivity that I want to literally eradicate and release from my life. Can you do this for yourself in the context of a sales conversation? Can you do this for yourself in the context of your home? What an interesting thing that a successful business continuously cycles me back into. How can I be a better mother, a better lover, a better friend, a better sister? It's so cool.
I agree.
Yes, Kate, exactly. Kate commented, if you're watching this into the future, Kate commented in the chat that even before the sales conversation happens, we can turn the flashlight on back onto ourselves and see hesitation, doubt, fear. Yeah. And I find, if I may just put a very neat little bow on this, if I'm being an asshole to my child or my boyfriend, I can't be as efficient and effective with my team or in my business with someone new. I just can't.
How you do anything is how you do everything.
Totally. And cleaning all of that up, I'm on fire. You know? I mean, I still have tons to do, but wow, just to know what I'm working on and to be actively working on them, releasing all the little tiny traumas and big traumas, little traumas that were completely decimating my capacity to feel comfortable selling or doing business. Wow.
You know, I'm just feeling what you're transmitting, Elena. I'm aware that the reason that I was so uncomfortable with sales, I think the reason that many people are uncomfortable with sales, it like just touches this core wound. If this perhaps complete stranger says no to the thing that I'm offering, that my fragility is so intense that I will break. And the truth is that I was living with that kind of consciousness. Like when I closed my eyes and went into meditation or got on the mat and did my asana practice and no one else was in there, just me and God, then I felt pretty secure. But as soon as I opened my eyes, it was like, well, danger everywhere. Danger everywhere. In the form of potential rejection. And so that's where the manipulation and codependency arose out of. I was incredibly nice. I was very likable. It was very uncommon that someone had anything negative to say about me, because if they did, I couldn't handle it. That was my emotional experience. That shit is not liberation. If you can only experience the truth of the full unconditional love that is here for you when you close your eyes, you got more work to do. Which is not a bad thing. That's not a criticism. It's just a calling. And I'm telling you, sales is the strategy. And on the way, it just so happens that you will also make bank. But really, like, my favorite testimonials are the ones that say, like, Jesse Johnson taught me how to fucking love. And then I happened to make a bunch of money. Like that also happened.
That right there is a key part of it. Yep. It's funny how much personal work I've embarked upon as a result of this business, not to make it better, but as a result of. It's so interesting.
Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart.
No.
But y'all wouldn't be here with Elena if it wasn't your path. There's just no way. You wouldn't have resonated with her. You wouldn't have wanted to be in this room if you weren't here for the level of personal work that she holds. And frankly, you wouldn't have heard me if you weren't calling a lot more money, like 10x your current revenue. You wouldn't be hearing me today if that was not in your energetic field. You just wouldn't have attracted me. You wouldn't have said yes to this call. You wouldn't be listening to the replay, whatever. Yeah. So like claim those things. It's like, oh yeah, I manifested this shit. I manifested Elena in my life. I manifested Jesse in my life. Like, look at me. Yeah.
It's the best feeling.
Fucking badass. Look at that shit. Look at that.
Dude, I can't thank you enough for being here today. What a treat to have another voice and vision. What a treat. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Really, thank you. Jesse, thank you. Anything to add before we go?
I mean, y'all are real fun. I could definitely just keep going. It's real fun to be here. You guys are awesome.
We appreciate you. If there was one video that the team could or should watch to get to know you a little better, in case they didn't catch the Facebook forum post that lives now on our announcements, what would it be?
After this conversation, I feel like that I may have sent this to you, but I may not. There's like the energetics of sales feels like the next conversation, and there's a couple of videos on that subject, but they're just super. I just can feel this team in particular is like, yeah, like y'all are picking up what I'm putting down, and there's some life energy around that. I think that you guys would really enjoy those.
Okay, the energetics of sales.
Yeah, I'll send you the link.
Okay, perfect. And your work is on YouTube, obviously.
YouTube and Instagram are my current favorite platforms, but we have a little real estate everywhere.
Okay, good. Good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here. I'll go ahead and unmute everybody so that we can say goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So amazing.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.